Good morning. This is Lonnie Terrell, and I'm here to do my persuasive speech on desensitization of workers to job site hazards. So we're going to discuss a recurring theme in the construction industry today that we're going to examine the cause and effects of desensitization, risk tolerance, and ways to remedy this behavior. I can discuss this information because of my time as a safety manager, firefighter, and Marine. Over 20 years. I've been seeing this on the job for that long, and I'm going to express my concerns about that today. The main points we're going to discuss is what is desensitization to hazards, the behavioral conditions that lead to desensitization to the hazards, borderline tolerated condition to use, and corrective measures to reduce desensitization to hazards. So what is desensitization? Definition means it is to make a sensitized or hypersensitive individual insensitive or non-reactive to a sensitizing agent. To make emotionally insensitive or callous, specifically to extinguish an emotional response as of fear, anxiety, or guilt, stimuli formerly induced it. So desensitization of the olfactory senses and the autonomy senses. That's our eyes, our nose, our ears, touch, taste. So think about that when you are out and about in your neighborhood. You smell a skunk that may have been hit by a car or just perished somehow, but it smells. So with that, your nose, your olfactory sense, is going to pick up that smell. If it's in your neighborhood, you go home, half hour, 1 hour later, you will no longer smell that skunk. What happens is your nose becomes desensitized. Our whole sense spectrum does that when we're on the job site. Our nose, our ears, our eyes, our touch, everything we do becomes desensitized the more we're on a job and the longer we're on a job. So what is desensitization to hazards? It's also referred to as normalization of deviance. It's a long-term phenomenon in which individuals or teams repeatedly get away with deviation from established standards until it is no longer seen as a deviation. It becomes the implied standard, or that's how we do things. You do something without getting hurt, so you keep doing it. And the more you don't get hurt, the more you believe that you can't get hurt. So there's no adverse action. There's nobody going, no, that's not the right way. There's no cop pulling you over and getting a ticket for speeding. There's nobody getting hurt on the job. There's no catastrophic failures. So everybody thinks it's okay to do it. So desensitization to hazards is also known as inattentional blindness. In short, what we look for when we are focused on one thing, like getting a job done quickly, we pay little attention to hazards that may be around us. One of the recurring themes in my experience is it was only going to take a minute. How many times I've been told that doing incident and accident investigations is off the charts over that time span. So with that, I think that is also one of the things that's, if I'm not going to get hurt because it's only going to take me a few seconds to do this task. So behavioral conditions that lead to the desensitization of hazards. So we have systematic desensitization, which is the exposure to real-life events that alter cognitive, affective, and behavioral processes, leading to desensitization to one's surroundings. And followed with that is complacency, and how it relates to the behavioral conditions. Complacency is caused by the very thing that should prevent accidents. Factors like experience, training, and knowledge contribute to complacency. Complacency makes employees skip hurriedly through SOPs, or your standard operating procedures, fail to monitor instrumentation, or utilize all the PPE correctly. It can cause an employee to use shortcuts, poor judgment, and to resort to other malpractices that means the difference between hazardous performance and professional performance. So when desensitization and complacency are combined, it demonstrates that a mental condition that some call complacency exists in a particular context. The problem is whether it can be endowed with explanatory power. The mechanisms by which complacent behavior occurs are unclear, and any causal link to accidents has not been established. In comparison, desensitization, risk perception, risk tolerance, they are readily understood psychological concepts with studies able to demonstrate that failure to accurately perceive risk contributes to accident involvement. When the combination of complacency and desensitization combine, and when conditions are right, catastrophic failures do occur, such as in 1986 with the Space Shuttle Challenger, and a few years back in the Gulf of Mexico with the Deepwater Horizon. So borderline tolerated condition to use. So everybody out there has their border. What they'll do that they feel safe doing. Whether you're driving a car, walking, putting yourself out at night somewhere, out in the woods or out in some other environment or on the job site. So think about it in the text of driving a car. Are you safer driving a car at 55 miles an hour or 105 miles an hour? Well, if you're a NASCAR driver, you drive every day, doing 200 miles an hour, 105 miles an hour is going to be a safe speed for you. Maybe in that person's, that is their borderline, what they are tolerated. Whereas a 16-year-old driver feels safe at 55. So that's how borderlines work. So everyone has different lines of what is acceptable. That's those influencing factors. And that's our risk tolerance. So risk tolerance is wide encompassing. It has many things that causes our risk tolerance to go up or go down. Some of those things are the overestimating capability or experience. That's going, you know what, I'm so good at this, I don't need to follow these rules. You have familiarity of task. You've done it so many times, you know you can skip steps. Seriousness to outcome. You know something bad has happened before, so that's going to cause your risk to come down. Voluntary actions and being in control. Personal experience with an outcome. You know you've gotten hurt before, or a process failed. Cost of non-compliance. You know, what does it actually cost to save that 5 seconds? That causes it to go down as well. Then you have confidence in equipment, confidence in protection and rescue, potential profit and gain from your actions, which, with that, that's actually what happened with the Deepwater Horizon. It caused so far behind the money, expenditures, that they had to finish no matter what. Well, that is what led to that catastrophic failure. And then role models accepting risk. That's our foremen, that's our people who are in lead positions or in lead positions that are not leaders, they're just leaders to the rest of the crew, who do things and put themselves in harm's way. Others below them and subordinates feel it's okay. So how do we use these corrective measures to reduce the desensitization? Well, with our frontline managers and supervisors, we want to keep safety fresh, we want to keep safety personal, and we want to keep safety important. Okay, we want to demand that safety, don't tolerate any deviation from safe practices. Do it right all the time. Standard operating procedures and the verification that they are followed. It's how effective are the SOPs and only be determined by constantly monitoring them and to make sure that there's no deviation in place. Procedures may and will change, but we have to monitor them to make sure that those changes are updated and are current at all times. Training. Employees need to be trained to think ahead as they approach each task. So we want to encourage employees to examine the substances, the equipment, the procedures, and situations they are part of on the job and look for possible hazards. Remind them to be safe and they need to focus physically and mentally on their work. Do the job, do it right, and do it every time. Coaching and mentoring. Probably this is one of the best things that we can do out there. As leaders, as supervisors, and just as peers. If we see something wrong, we talk to that individual. We fix the problem, and we move on. So we're going to enhance internal risk management, collaboration and communication between team members, and support for workplace safety culture. This is because mentorship builds a trusting relationship between the mentor and the mentees, which aids in safety knowledge, retention, and increased hazard awareness. So inclusion. Understanding of how these underlying psychological processes contribute to faulty decision making and accidents offer the opportunity to develop individual and collective strategies to mitigate its effect. In comparison, our current understanding of desensitization is limited in ability to describe the underlying mechanisms by which it occurs and subsequently impedes our ability to develop effective preventive strategies. Risk may be ambiguous, but with improved ability to perceive and identify risk, organizations and individuals within them are better able to manage the inherent risk and subsequently prevent accidents, resulting in a safer workforce. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my speech, and have a wonderful day.